Hey everybody, Heart Tecticon is back, and I am bringing you 3 different third-party Dinobots to compare to each other, and to play with, and have fun with, and help you decide which one is best for you. So, let's get to it! Alright, so here we have 3 different third-party Brachiosaurus. We're going to stick with Brontosaurus if I can remember. So here we have Fans Project's Columpio, Planet X's Neptune, and Toy World's Muddy. I'm sorry, Muddy, you didn't get like some kind of crazy Greek name. You just got water and dirt. But that does not mean he is just water and dirt, or mud. He's pretty darn cool. So, with this review, I'm going to be just starting with the very tips of their heads and noses. If they got noses, they don't have nostrils. To the very ends of their tails, which isn't fully clipped in. So, let's start with the heads. Now, with Columpio, we've got a painted gold head. He has got red eyes that are painted. I don't think they're light piping because there's nowhere for the light piping to go through. But he can open his mouth for a barrage of very, very, very sharp teeth. And let's see how wide he can open it without damaging any of these sharp teeth. That is as wide as he can open his mouth. And it's actually a little difficult to open and close his mouth. It's a little tight of a joint, so that's not super great. Now with Planet X's head, Brontosaurus head, it is not a painted gold. It's just kind of a, they're probably kind of going for like a gold beige flat color. He has blue eyes with light piping. We can get some of that good old light piping going on here. Let's see, yeah, it doesn't work super great, but it's there and it does glow every once in a while. His mouth can open. Let's see how far he can open his mouth, and he's got these spiky things on the bottom of his head, and those actually got a little bit of point to them too. But for now, let's try and open his mouth carefully, which isn't as hard as Fans Projects. The mouth isn't as long, and the teeth are actually sharper. That one kind of stuck a little. Yeah, I don't think the mouth opens quite as wide. Just barely not quite as wide. Let's leave him like this. But something about that, the way I guess the lip, for lack of knowing dinosaur anatomy, kind of goes up, gives him like a very, sorry Stegosaurus lovers, but very snarl look to him. Not the character, but he's got like a snarl, like to him. Well, let's go with the, you know what? From this part right here, and this part, there is no articulation, but from this joint to this joint there is. So yeah. And he has 360 degrees ball joint rotation on his. His is just on a swivel. So let's open that mouth back up. Roar! And roar! And finally we have Muddy here, who has got the shiniest head of all. Just shiny gold chrome. There we go. So yeah, look how shiny that is. Now his head is on kind of a ball joint which is connected to a swivel, and his head keeps coming off. Excuse me. And his mouth, which is the hardest to open. Oh, plus the scariest, because anybody's going to be worried about chipping the beautiful gold chrome on here. And his mouth opens a little wider than Planet X's Dino mouth. He does have teeth. They're nowhere near as long, but they still have some point to them. He also has blue eyes with very, very obvious light piping there, you know. Look, it's so bright, like me covering it doesn't even affect it. So yeah, no mistaking he's got light piping. So let's go down to the necks. They both have long, stretchy necks. Not stretchy, but long brontosaurus necks. But Fans Project's Columpio has got the most articulated. It has got a ball joint here, 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 and here, meaning he can do this number. So that leaves for some very interesting articulation options. Very dynamic. Where Neptune's neck is probably the next most articulated. Like right here at the head, it's got that up and down joint. It's got a 360 swivel joint right here, where the paint ends and the beige plastic ends and the gray begins. And in addition to that, he's got this one up and down joint. No joint at the base. And for Muddy, he's pretty much just got the movement at his neck, which, like I said, is on this weird swivel thing. And the only way you can get more articulation is by undoing this, which I guess that's only good for drinking water. And then it looks like he's got a serious medical problem. Call Ratchet, huh? So let's start looking at their bodies. Look at the bodies. Well, you know what? Let's go right here. We're going to start with their front legs. Now, Columpio, he's actually probably the most different in the most ways. His front legs are going to turn into the arms of the robot mode, where on both of these other guys, the front legs just kind of fold up somewhere or hide somewhere, and the back legs become the arms of the robot mode. But let's see if we can get them kind of lined up here. They're all in, of course, like a gray, silver, whatever you want to call it, plastic. Each one having a different shade, texture to it. All three of them got their own grays and blacks and golds. He doesn't have any black, and reds. He's got the most red. And of course, they all have their own version of gold toes. Columpio has got ball joint rotation at the shoulder, and a swivel right here at the bicep, and a double jointed elbow, or knee, whatever you want to call it, and his toes kind of flip out for transformation. Okay, now on Neptune's, his is probably, for being flat paint, the shiniest, and probably a little bit more detailed than either of the other ones. You know, with the, just mold pieces picked out, how they did the mold. His is on this up and down swivel with a ball joint at the shoulder. He also has, I guess, elbow rotation and a little bit of back and forth movement, and no movement at the toe. And then we got Muddy here, who has the lightest color of the plastic, of the gray, where right here is not much, but his red is definitely the richest red. I mean, that is some really deep crimson there. Isn't that a band? It's an old school heavy metal band, Deep Crimson. Or am I thinking of King Crimson? I don't know. Deep Crimson sounds like a good band name too. Alright, but for articulation, he's got a little bit of this kind of in and out, a little bit of more in and out than anything movement. He does not have any kind of rotational movement. He just has back and forth movement at his elbow, knee. And he's got lots of toe movement. He can move his toe around 360 degrees. It's on a ball joint. It's got slit right there, so it'll also go like that. So he can be kind of tiptoeing about like that. And he is the only one with gold chrome on his toe. So, let's keep on going. Let's get these guys back in order. Hey. Now, back legs. Now, on Columpio's back legs, there's actually a peg on the tail and a peg hole on the inside of the leg where it's supposed to fold. No. That peg is for the peg hole I was talking about. Peg on the leg is for something different. Peg leg. Peg on the tail. But his back legs just kind of curl up and fold up to be out of the way. And they have 360 degree rotation around the body. They've got this simple in and out movement, and the toe is very, very movement-y. Back and forth, back and forth. That's how it goes. He's got the same gray and red as the front legs, and the same gold paint on the toes. Now, we will go for the body. I didn't do these guys. I'm so forgetful. On Columpio's legs, first of all, he has got this big old weird thing that he had in Fall of Cybertron. And in case you didn't know, this is Fall of Cybertron Sludge. So, you know, he's supposed to have some extra stuff, and you can already hear some ratchets. We all love ratchets. But this thing has got a decent amount of articulation. You can go kind of in and out from the body. And you can pull it down a little further. It gets stuck and makes you wonder if it's going to chip or wear, but I haven't seen any. It doesn't feel like it. But we got more of this this kind of almost faded red. I really feel like it should be a richer red. The nice silvery gray. Lots of details in this leg, actually. A lot. I mean, little red vent looking things. All that. This little stripe going down. Back of the legs detailed even. As you saw before, it's on ratchets. And it goes 360 if it weren't for this other leg. But you know what? We can make it happen. It's got a movement at the thigh. It's got knee movement, again on a ratchet, 3 clicks, and no movement on the toe again. And then on Muddy, let's see what we got here. Getting kind of crowded. I think any room will be crowded with 3 brontosauruses. So on Muddy, we got the same type of movement. It's just on, it's on a ratchet, but it's on a squeak ratchet, not a click ratchet. So he's a squeaker. Now he's all got this movement right here for transformation, but you know, under certain situations, you could probably use it if you just needed a little bit of outward movement. And you know, under the right circumstances, if you were taking pictures or video, you might not be able to notice it. He does have articulation here at the thigh and at the knee. 4 clicks. And unlike his other guys, his little toes can move all around just like the front ones. Oh, and he's got more of that really deep, rich, beautiful red. And that light plastic. And now, I didn't point this out earlier, but this part, whatever these are supposed to be on top of his legs, are actually painted silver, where the rest of the leg is gray. And you almost don't notice, but when you notice, it's like, well, you know, that's just a nice touch. So yeah. Alright, now let me get these guys a little bit straightened up for you. Now, as I'm sure y'all can see by now, Columpio has the thinnest body. Like, he is the one on the South Beach diet, or whatever diet is popular these days. You know I am not keeping up with him. He has got the thinnest body, which kind of makes it look the least brontosaurus-y. I mean, maybe brontosauruses were kind of slim and fit, but whatever, you know. Just from what we've seen in Kindergarten and Jurassic Park and all those fun movies and Life and stuff, you'd think it'd be more kind of along these lines. Like, he's nice and kind of chubby and thick, and he's just got a really wide stance. Like, you see this guy coming, just get out of the way. Even if he plans to try and walk, like, you know, beside you or not run you over, I would still get out of the way. Now, they all share the common transformation theme of kind of snapping in half or breaking in half, and the back part being their legs, one way or another. See, right in the very middle of this back, he's got his feet. There's his feet on him, and there's his feet on him. Let's see. With Columpio, we got this nice painted silver front half, which is pretty nice, and then you can see the robot chest, which becomes the front part of the dino. And with Neptune, you can see the feet right here, and this is just the same color as the rest of the gray. They decided not to go with the front half being all silvery theme, but still massive amounts of detail. And here we have the most silver, where, hey, you can see me. Hi. Can you see me? Oh, hey. But yeah, he's definitely got the most silver here. Very reflective, very chromy. There's his feet again. I didn't show the... Here. There is the robot chest right here, but this actually unhooks, 360s, and plugs into that part, the top right here being right there. Show the underparts. Everybody wants to see Dino underparts, right? And then here we have, it's definitely the cleanest bottom of, that sounded weird, the cleanest bottom of all the Dinobots. Still lots of detail. Like, let all that, like, what is that supposed to be? I don't know, but it's a cool detail. Yeah. Very clean down there. Still sounded weird. Alright, let's look at the bottom parts of them, the bottom half. Columpio, fairly bland, fairly plain. Just got his thin little body going into a fat, stubby tail. Nothing really magnificent to speak about. Then we got Planet X's, who he's got this little area right here. This red, which is different from the other guys. And a not quite as fat, not quite as stubby tail. And then we got Columpio, who has a traditional G1 style green, red, and blue thing that I don't understand, with a little bit of spinach right here. And it's least fat of all, but very stumpy tail, but he at least has a little bit of tail articulation. He can wag his tail up and down. So that's cool. Again, lots of molded in detail, lots of it. The paint on that, those colors right there that I don't understand, are so rich. I mean, they got some sparkle in there to them. You see the sparkle? And you can see right here where the paint is kind of flawed, where they should have like done one more coat, but they didn't. But I'm pretty forgiving of that. Alright, so I think we got everything. There's a bug. To cover in Dino mode, with the exception of let's see how well each one stores their weapons. So we're just going to put these guys aside for right now. Focus on Columpio. Now he's got his little minicom partner, and he's got a very, very cool sword with the standard weird hose that goes on the Sludge sword, and his gun, which does have a handle that flips out right. Well, let's flip out the bayonet and then flip out the handle, so it does become a normal gun. But for storage mode, we're going to put it like this. So he has got storage points in his legs, so let's just kind of stick these in his legs. I'm going to do it off camera if you don't mind, so it'll be a little quicker if I do it like that. Y'all know how to plug a port into a hole, I'm sure, hopefully. And Columpio, his ports are particularly tight, so I like kind of him being close to me when I do it. So there's his main hand weapons, but we can go as far as moving these things to the side on his minicom partner, flipping his weird little feet around, and kind of just sitting them in there or whatever. So there you go. He's got two weapons and a weapon partner that can ride him. Let's put him to the side, a little off camera, right there. Now with Planet X Neptune, he comes with a lot of accessories. He comes with these two really cool hammers, just got light piping and everything. I mean, really nice. Dig in on that. Look at the detail. Lots of detail on that. And they're on kind of long posts. So it comes with two hammers. They're exactly the same. Then he comes with two of these guns right here. They are unfortunately not mirror images. They are exactly the same. But again, lots of molded in detail. Really nice. Not real heavy on the paint apps, but I mean, some paint apps are better than none. So for storage, you've got storage options here, here, and here. Okay? And which is fine for the guns. Let's put his guns on real quick. I'm going to do it off camera again like I did before. And it's nowhere near as hard as Columpio. You just still want to be careful because these guns, when I was not being as careful as I should have been, I actually broke the handle off of one. Big Bad Toy Store was very gracious about it and sent me a new one about 2 months later, but still. 2 months later is a lot better than never. So that is how his guns store on. The problem is with the hammers, you know, unless you're wanting to do some AoE slug stuff, you know, that's going to look kind of stupid. So they gave us an option for one hammer. Let's go ahead and pull this off. This red part right here, it kind of opens up almost trapdoor style. And you can actually place one of the hammers in there, like so. And then there's kind of like a notch opening right there and a notch right there. And you just kind of close it in there. And there you go. The handle lines up with his tail. He's got his guns. He's ready for battle. But what about this guy? I mean, I showed you how you could put it here or here or something. But that's about the only storage that doesn't have it flopping around. The only other thing I can think of is that. So, he cannot officially store all of his weapons. Not very cool. Now with Muddy here, let's move him back. Let Muddy be the star of the show. He has got this gun and this tiny little crappy sword. It's not so great. But his storage is the best. Let me let you take a look at the molding on his gun. It's very cool. Same thing on the other side, but still. Almost looks like every time he blasts, like exhaust is gonna pop out. So that's cool. But gun storage, you could put it right there if you could fit it, but he's got a spot right there. You could put it like this for kind of a battle mode. Or if you just want to hide it, put it right here. And bam. If he's on your shelf like that, you probably won't even notice. Now with this one, with the sword, now he's got the iconic little hose thing too. You notice like here's the blade. What's with all this? I mean, it kind of makes it ugly, don't you think? Well, there is a reason. The blade folds down onto that. And you grab Muddy right here. And he's got a slot in his neck. If I'm not mistaken, you put it like that. So he does kind of have a hose coming out of his neck. But, I mean, that's more cool, mechy detail. So, there is weapon storage. Now from here, I'm going to get all these guys transformed so we can look at them in robot mode, hopefully a little quicker. Alright, so here we have all three Brontosaurus guys, sludges, and their robot mode. And, you know, given angle and the way everything isn't going to be 100% perfectly lined up, it's hard to tell which one is tallest. But if we're going by head, let me straighten him up a little bit. Okay, if we're going by head height, this one is a little bit taller. A Fans Projects Columpio is a little taller at the head than Planet X's Neptune. And Toy World's Muddy is the shortest by a bot hair. Like just a little bit. Now, let's take a look at the head sculpts, each one. Here we have Columpio, who's got... It's a very good head sculpt, but to me, it doesn't really look Dinobot enough. It looks very heroic, but not brutish enough. It's got a lot of details in the face. It's got that real nice blue paint that really pops at you. And it's got blue eyes in this mode, where the Dino head has red eyes. Now Sludge here has probably got the most brutish... they're all sludges, dummy. Neptune has got the most brutish, dinosaurish looking head, in my opinion. He's got a silver face like all of them do, black around the helmet, some red accents instead of blue like Columpio, which is a little bit more accurate, and blue eyes with great light piping. I hope you can see the effect of that. There we go. And finally we have Muddy's head, who in my opinion looks, I guess, the most G1 accurate. And altogether, this is probably my favorite head sculpt. Putting the hand behind it never helps me. He's got blue eyes. No, there is light piping. There is. And he's just got a little bit of red accent on his forehead. But probably the most molded in detail of all three figures. Okay, let's take a look at each one of their arms. This one, Columpio, has actually got the weakest arms. You know, they look, again, he looks well and even and heroic, but not so much Dinobot until you get to his chunky legs. But it's got the same articulation with the ball joint here. I didn't do this. Oh no. The ball joint, the bicep movement, the elbow, and no wrist swivel, but there is up and down wrist movement, and the fingers, all four fingers open at once. Okay? And he's got the weird little blue dots in front and back. Look at that. We have Neptune, who's got the beefiest, clickiest arms. And real quick, let me go and address this issue. This is the way the instructions say to put the tail pieces. I prefer to do it like this. And it just keeps everything out of the way. It makes the backpack a little longer when it comes to bulk, but not as wide, and doesn't restrict the arm movement. But he's got those big fat shoulders and these big clicky elbow movements and movement at the bicep, and 360 wrist swivel, but no up and down movement on it like on Columpio. And like Columpio, all four fingers open at once. Okay. And then we got Muddy's arms. Again, probably the most traditional Dinobot styling. It's got like a squeak ratchet right here, the bicep swivel, the elbows ratcheting, and no wrist articulation. And again, like all four, the fingers open, all four at once. Okay, so let's. Oh, and head articulation. On a ball joint. This one is also on a ball joint, and he too is also on the most dynamic ball joint. Okay, so let's take a look at waist swivel. He has waist swivel, 360 degrees with an ab crunch. Neptune has waist swivel, 360 degrees with no ab crunch. And Muddy, transformed them. Waist swivel, 360 squeaky degrees with no ab crunch. Okay, let's take a look at the chest molds and back molds and look and see how much kibble each one has. This one is probably just barely off camera. Has got the most stuff going on. I mean, lots of detail. He's got his blue nipples. And I really like that blue, even though I don't really think it fits somehow, but it is a really gorgeous blue. So yeah, and that's how well he handles his kibble. He has the shell that made up the front part of his dino body and his full dino neck hanging down. The shell of the front part as kind of wings. Okay, let's take a look at Neptune's chest. And unfortunately, I have not put Autobot symbols on any of these guys, but he's got a very organic looking chest. and it's got all the red light piping type plastic inside there. Looks really nice. I'm going to say this is actually the most detailed chest. See how far it sticks out. And that is how he handles his back kibble. He's got the dino head and the dino tail back there. And in my opinion, it still don't stick out as far as Columpio's. And then we got Muddy, who's got the most simple but very nice design of chest body. Not a lot going on. You can flip this thing down and reveal more molded in details. Also a nice spot for an Autobot symbol. And you'd be able to view the Autobot symbol behind that darkened smoky plastic. And that is how he handles his kibble, which if you choose, you can kind of fan it out like that. Let's see what we can do with this head. I guess we can do it like that. It's really shiny too. So if you prefer, you can kind of make bigger wings. Otherwise, if you put it straight back, it sticks out a lot further. It's his head, the front part of the dino body shell, and his front legs. So he's got the most kibble. Now on to legs. This guy, already, he was the hardest to stand. He's got these ball joints, and there's a lot of articulation in the legs. But there's so much, it's just hard to get him to stand right sometimes. He's got the chunkiest legs. A lot of his mass goes into the knee and below. I mean, that's a lot going on there. As you can see, his front dino legs kind of fold up on there. Not too crazy about that. And here's the back of the legs. You can see that's where the tail goes. He's got articulation, 360 degrees articulation at the thigh, and a ball joint at the waist. He's got double knee ratchets at the knee, and a little bit of toe articulation because of this thing flopping around on a ball joint. With Neptune, his are kind of chunky too, but it almost looks silly at first with the way his upper leg is so skinny and his lower leg is so thick. But once you look at him for a while, it kind of, you get used to it. It seems like that's just his body type. But he's got some gold toes. He's mainly gray with red, darker gray, almost black up here. For articulation, he's got lots of ratchety goodness. It's not 360 degree ball joints or anything, but if you want to go through the hassle of it, these can flip around 360 degrees. He's got some thigh movement. He's again got the double knee joints on ratchets, but not really much toe articulation. Just so you know, that's where the back dino feet width is inside his lower legs. It's kind of a neat pose. And I'm getting these all guys off camera, huh? Again. Come on, stop being a jerk. There we go. And here we got Muddy, whose legs have probably got the most detail. Look at all that. I mean, a really good painting customizer could have a field day with that, with just some very subtle silvers, grays, and blacks. I mean, that can go a long way and really pop. He's got the really rich colors that were normally on the Dino back. That's where the tail went, just like in Columpio. He's got black up here, gray here, gold here, green here, red here, blue here. He's got ratchet legs at the thigh, at the waist. They go back and forth and they're on ratchets. There's no thigh movement right here, but there's 360-degree knee rotation. And only single knee joints, but I am not going to complain about that because those double knee joints get annoying. And he's got a lot of toe articulation. So yeah, you can get some really dynamic poses out of him. Well, he fell. Bam. And straight knee. Alright. So, now real quick about the transformation. I'm going to have to say his is the most annoying, complicated, because stuff gets in the way while you're trying to transform. All three of these guys have been transformed on my channel. All you have to do is look for their reviews. His is the second easiest to do. And this is, I didn't line these up. That was really random how I lined them up. But it just turns out that's how things are going. His was the second easiest. It's not too difficult. My main complaint is when you got to take these legs and, you know, I missed something. You got to take these legs and flip them around onto themselves, onto the back. And you have to have these double knee joints. Both of them have to be in the precise exact position. Otherwise it won't work. Extra note, I said that his little toes right here don't move. Well, they do. They move out just a little bit. Mainly to get these hands out. They pull right out. This one, if you saw somebody doing it, you would think, well, that's definitely the most complicated transformation. It's not the most complicated. It is just the best engineered transformation. A lot of stuff happens in the transformation, but fairly clean, fairly quick. So he was the easiest to transform. He was the most satisfying to transform. You know, everything wasn't just, it wasn't obvious, but it wasn't hard to figure out. And some of the tricks that happened were pretty neat. Now, finally on accessories, let's see how they wield their accessories. So let's start with him since we been going the other way. In fact, if I push these guys back, I'll get a little bit more screen real estate, huh? Ain't that right? So there's Muddy holding his gun, which is a pretty cool gun. And this disappointment of the sword. And this is one squeaky guy. It's like he's got a mouse in him. So, and that's it for Muddy's weapons. For Neptune's weapons, I'm going to have him store his guns right here in his arms. Really ratchety. So not too much difficulty putting those in. Then I'm going to have him hold and wield his hammers. Because it is hammer time. Because I will never, ever, 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 ever get old. Ever, ever, ever. Hammer time. So, in robot mode, he does an alright job getting all his weapons on him. And just as a side note, you could still, if you wanted him to wield his guns instead, you could still shove him back there. Almost look like satellites coming off of him. Or radar dishes or something, squarish radar dishes. And then we got, let's see, I'm going to have him store his sword, which stores back here. Or in other places, but this is one of the ways to where it's not all in the way. I really gotta... But that also makes his wings bigger. Then we'll have him wield his gun. Which, as you can see... let's see, do I got something that's... Yeah, here's a... Got a micron here. And so you can see that it, I guess, is 5 millimeters wide, but thickness, it's squared off and real thin compared to this. So I'm not real crazy about that concept. So there's his gun, and we're going to have him hold his micron. Well, again, I'm getting off screen. There's a lot of guys here, guys. Come on, guys. Don't get mad at my guys. So I'm going to pause here real quick while I transform this guy, and then I'll be right back. And here we have his micron turned into his weapon mode. So we're just going to flip his hands open, see if we can get it popped in there. Which, it's been kind of difficult to get it done exactly how it needs to be done. But he holds it. And there he is with his weapons. So they can all hold all of their weapons in robot mode. Which, for the most part, I'll probably be displaying them in robot mode the most. For the most part. I know, that was silly. If one day I'm able to move into a bigger house and have a big display room, I probably would have the Planet X Dinobots in their Dino mode, because their Dino modes are just so dang awesome. I mean, I just love their Dino modes. This guy, you know, I'm not even sure if I'm going to keep this guy. I'm not sure what it is about him that I'm not crazy about. I mean, it's got his flaws, but all three of these guys have their flaws. Not a single one of them doesn't have flaws. They all have flaws. I mean, altogether, they're all kind of equal in their own ways. But for some reason, this guy he just ain't pulling on my heartstrings. I just don't really have much attachment to him. And with that being said, I do not promise that for the other 4 Dinobots, I'm going to have a comparison, all 3 comparison like this. I do have a Kubrar from this line, but I don't have any more Triceratops from the other 2. Queerness, whatever, is going to be coming out for this guy's line soon. Maybe in another month, hopefully. But we don't know if we're getting Slug or Swoop for him for the next line. I might hold off a little longer and see if I can do one more, but I'm probably going to, in the end at least, I'm definitely going to be getting rid of the Fans Projects. Fans Projects is a good company. There's really nothing more wrong with them than the other guys. It's just, I'm not loving them. These 2 I'm loving. So, this guy probably will not be displayed in any mode because I probably won't have him. This guy, if he will be displayed in robot mode, but if I could choose, it will be Dino mode. This guy, in the end, will be displayed in foot mode. Because yes, in case you don't know, this guy, if you were thinking, well, he's a little lacking compared to the other 2, those 2 don't turn into combiners. This guy is going to combine with the other 4 Dinobots to create a literally huge Dinobot combiner. I've got him, I've got their version of Snarl, which is Roar, and their version of Grimlock, which is Grim Shell. And I've already combined those 3 elements, because Snarl's also a foot, to see how tall he is, and just so far, without arms even, he looks amazing. So, if the idea of a Dinobot combiner interests you, get this guy. If an idea of the Dinobot combiner does not interest you, because that one in G1, then maybe get this guy. He's kind of like an updated version on G1. Or you can just get this guy and not put him in combiner mode. And if you're more into the new style stuff, like Fall of Cybertron and Prime and all that, get this guy. Because he's just awesome. Price-wise, this guy was the cheapest by like $1 or $2. He was like $1 or $2 more. So altogether, we're going to say these guys were about around $105. This guy was $115. I'm guessing a little bit more for the fact that he was a combiner. So, I believe that's all I could say about these guys. I'm sure this review has ran far too long already. And if you are still here at this point, without skipping through, Well, rock on, man. Really. Or lady. Rock on. So, I believe that's all the in-depth comparisons I can do for these three guys. So, until next time, I'll see y'all later.